What's up, beautiful people? You're listening to the Plant Medicine for PTSD podcast. This episode is pretty awesome. If you're a longtime listener of this show, you'll probably notice some patterns with a few of these episodes that we're putting out right around now, which is that I am just selfishly using this time to grapple with a lot of things that are on my own mind. At the time of this recording, Cordy is 3 months pregnant with our second child, first son, and there's a lot going on in my noggin these days. So this entire episode is basically just me trying to extract advice from my guest today, who is my friend Bruno Moya. Awesome dude. I forget how we even got in touch in the first place. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's a plant medicine guy. He's a smart motherfucker. He's a parent. He's a veteran. So much good wisdom to share, and I really look forward to speaking with him some more, just on a friendship level. Maybe podcast round two, maybe working with him one of these days. You'll hear him talk about the work that he does with family constellations stuff. Pretty interesting. So I won't ramble too long because I think there's a lot of good meat in this episode. I don't think it requires too much more preamble. So there will be links in this episode description to see where you can find Bruno and some of the work that he's doing. He's a pretty private guy with this stuff, but he has a nonprofit called Soul Miner. I think he's working on a name change, so we'll get the relevant links in the description. You check that out and go enjoy the wisdom that Bruno Moya has to offer. Yeah, dude, the first time we talked, it was a long time ago, man. I don't even fully remember how we got connected. It probably was through jiu-jitsu stuff, because you are a brown belt, correct?
Purple belt.
Purple belt, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm giving you more
No,
credit
you're
than you
good.
deserve.
Yeah.
What's your actual day job, Bruno? What do you do for a living?
Okay. Yeah. Great question. So my day job is I work for the Legislative Council Bureau here for the state of Nevada, do constituent services. It sounds super fancy. It's a great job, great opportunity. Essentially, what I do is whenever you reach out to a legislature, you know how sometimes you go to the DMV, try to get your license, you run into a speed bump or an obstacle of some sorts that you feel is unjust. You reach out to your legislator, and I'm pretty much the guy that figures that stuff out. So I work for all of them in the state, so I'm nonpartisan. I don't work for a party or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I I imagine there's so much annoying shit about that job. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man, just dealing with like bureaucracy and red tape and stuff.
It, being behind, the Wizard of Oz, the wizard is behind the curtain, like being behind the curtain and looking at all the levers being pulled. You learn to appreciate the slowness because it needs to be slow. Sometimes being too fast is not okay, like with
Hmm.
legislation and policy. But when you're dealing with like certain bureaucracies, like a state agency, it can be very very annoying for sure. Yeah, it's like, hey guys, get to work. Let's go. The typical state organization, um, but they also have their policies and procedures. So yeah,
And on top of that, you also told me about how you do work with family constellations. And so is that in the capacity of like leading other people in this, like as a therapist kind of a role? Or like what does that look like?
yeah. So family constellation. I do family constellation with individuals. I work with a lot of veterans specifically. So the target groups that I work for, or that I work that I'm in service of, is veterans, athletes, healthcare workers, first responders, and trauma survivors. Practically, pretty much everybody. That covers the whole array. Um, and within that, uh, at times, I have a property in northern Arizona. It's about 2 hours from Las Vegas, where I live. And at times we go down to my property with a group of people, and we just do constellation work, family constellation. Family constellation, if you want me to explain it a little bit, because it's pretty obscure, it's popular in certain areas, and it's kind of a growing therapy, but it's very ancient. So family constellation, um, it's practiced in Africa by the Zulu tribe. The way that it was discovered was after World War II. There was a German soldier who, prior to the war, was on his way to become a priest in the Catholic Church. And then the war started. He got drafted. War ended. He survived. He was in Germany, so he was a little like taken back from the experience and like what happened. So he just decided to leave Germany and go to Africa. He spent 10 years with the Zulu tribe, where he discovered that they had a system of therapy to try to help individuals with their with certain challenges that they have within a family system, or within the tribe, or anything like that. In a tribal sense, right? Like a weak link needs to be looked at, because you have a chink in the armor, like the whole tribe can really it can be affected. So they look at the system as a whole. So family constellation came from that tradition, and the gentleman's name is Bert Hellinger, and he pretty much put a system around it. So he put a lot of foundations and theories behind it, and essentially there's like three different orders of love. In order for love to really flow through an individual, there needs to be kind of like these three different orders that need to be fully fully examined, if you will. So a family system is yourself, like all of your lineage, and then your future, right? And within that, you have to look at there's orders. In order for love to be able to flow, like I said earlier, you have to look at hierarchy, which is, for example, is like you have your grandparents, parents, uh, children, grandchildren, so on, right? There come certain times within that hierarchy where a child may take the role of a parent, because that parent may be unable, or doesn't have the capacity to be a parent for whatever reason. A good example is maybe they're just unavailable. Maybe they're addicted to some type of substance or something like that, and so they don't have the capacity at the time to be able to parent. And so maybe typical of one of the oldest child takes the role of the mom, or the dad, which is fine. It's good. However, in order for love to completely flow and to bring balance into that system, you need to be able to look at that and examine that, and then bring that balance, which is the other order, is balance, and that is pretty much self-explanatory. Bringing balance, looking at where there is unbalance in that system, and uh, and uh, and looking through how that love can flow. So I talked about order. I talked about hierarchy. Let me look here. I have to cheat sometimes, man, because I forget. And belonging is the third one. That's that a good example of that is, sometimes we have like an uncle that is, like he's the drunk, or he's the wild one, and like you have a family that's like, hey, we don't talk to the uncle because he's crazy or whatever. Maybe he committed really heinous crimes. Whatever the case is, that individual still belongs in the family system, and there needs to be belonging in there. Sometimes an individual with a family system, like maybe their family is just way too chaotic. There's too much substance abuse. There's too much violence and stuff like that. And so an individual might take themselves out of that system to be able um, uh, to live, essentially, right, harmoniously, but still in that system, you still belong in your family. So there, you need to feel like you belong in your family. That doesn't mean that you have to go back home and cook for them and like, invite them to the family dinners or any of that. But in order for love to flow, you need to have full acceptance of like your family system, and it just is what it is. And many times you talk to people that like they don't even want to talk about their family. So there's these blockages in love. And so family constellation, it attempts to look at those disorders or those faulty systems within the family for you to be able to really to let love flow.
Okay, I want to put a pin in this for right now because I actually really want to talk more about this because I know so little, but it seems so interesting to me. So I want to come back to this. How did you get introduced to this stuff? Or like where does your knowledge of all this come from?
Yeah. So man, back in 2018, 2018, I had my first experience with like psychedelics. Then um I had already graduated with a master's in social work, so I knew that I wanted to do social work. Like that was my thing, you know. And so I just didn't know in what area or what in under the umbrella of mental health where I fit in, you know. So I did psychedelics. Then I knew like right away, this is it. Like this is tribal. This is like this talks to me, you know. Like I don't like being in an office. I love being in nature. I love all that other stuff, you know. And like so, being in an office to me felt like it was very. There was a ceiling, and especially like in therapies and stuff like that, there's just a ceiling. You can only get so far when you're just secluded to like a box or square. You know what I mean? So pandemic happened. I lost my job. All the stuff, you know. Then I found this organization, um, this nonprofit organization based out of Colombia that was doing a 3 year training called psychedelic therapy training. It's known as AWE, and I signed up. I paid $50 to be interviewed, which is something that I've never done in my life. But it was a pandemic. I'm like, dude, I got $50. Why not? I got nothing else to do, you know. I got the interview. I didn't think I was gonna get accepted, but like a month later, they accepted me. I didn't know how I was gonna do it, but one of the things that really attracted me was that we were gonna go to a lot of different places around the world that have traditions that practice shamanic or indigenous ancestral wisdom. I guess that's a good way of like explaining what that is, you know. And that really caught my eye, specifically going to Africa. I've never been to Africa, and I've always wanted to like just shamanism as a whole. Coming from where I come from, I'm Mexican. I grew up there, and so shamanism is not something that's very obscure, and it's just something that's always attracted me. So found the training, signed up, got accepted, then went out to be a psychedelic therapist in training. Quickly found that the training was really um, it wasn't an attempt to teach you how to be a psychedelic therapist. Their idea, I believe, and this is what I got out of this is my interpretation, is that in order for you to be a psychedelic therapist, you need to completely understand all of your shit, essentially, right? Like you need to take a hard look at who you are, where you come from, your roots, all of it. And so that's where I got introduced to family constellation is through that modality is like, all right, in order for an individual to really be able to flourish without any self blockages, internal blockages, then you need to look at your family system. And that's not the only system to look at, but that's one that makes the most sense. You know, we all have a family. We all have mom and dad. Everybody, right? So you just need to look at that system and try to understand it to help to to better help understand who you are, where you come from, so you have an idea of that. And also just really taking a hard look at all your shit too. Like that's very important when you're doing anything with psychedelics and you want to offer it to people. Like, who are you and why are you doing this type of thing? You know. So um,
Did you have a sense of like this was gonna be your path when you did the psychedelics for the first time? Like is that part of why you were looking into it? Or like what motivated you to even step onto that path in the first place?
yeah, man. Uh, I remember being a kid and I had books about the Mayans, the Mexica, the Aztecs, like all of them, like I
Yeah.
would just study that. I was like, well, I was fascinated with it. I remember having books about astronomy and just reading through it and like, how did these people freaking 1,000 years ago figure out the star systems and like the pyramids? Like I was just so fascinated with all that. And so, getting out of the military, I served 8 years in the Marine Corps. When I got out, I I had a thing for helping guys out that would reach out. So I just, for some reason, guys would always reach out to me asking for help, and I would just sit down and talk with them. So I enjoyed that, and because I enjoyed that, I was like, maybe this is the thing for me is mental health. Maybe I can be a counselor, a therapist, whatever that is. I thought I was gonna get like a PsyD in psychology or something. Ended up getting a social work degree. I chose that route for a couple of different reasons, but graduated in 2017. 2018, I took my first experience. Like many of us, I listened to Joe Rogan and like he talked about it. So I was just curious. But also, I've just been very curious about psychedelics for a really long time. I was very afraid. I'm not somebody that's like, I've never done cocaine, meth, anything like that. I've always been kind of afraid of substances and foreign substances. However, I did drink a lot. so, um, and so, but there was like something about psychedelics that seemed different to me, and I took my first experience and it almost flipped the switch for me where I mean I came home, my wife didn't recognize me. At the time I was married 12 years, and I told my wife that I loved her like two or three times in those 12 years. She says she says I think two, I say three. It's an argument in 12 years, so that really woke me up. And psychedelics were the catalyst to help me understand the real hard work that I had ahead of me. It didn't change me. It didn't do anything outside of just giving me the opportunity to look at the things that I want, that I should change if I want to become the man in my mind that I want to become. You know. So that's really how I got into this type of stuff.
Was that first experience, was that an Ibogaine retreat?
No, it was Kana. It was Kana. It's a South African succulent, or at least that's what I was told.
Okay.
I still have a couple questions around that. It might have been just MDMA. I don't know. I was told it was Kana. So, it was the guy that administered it was like an old special forces vet. I had no reason to doubt him. One of my
Huh.
really really close friends, his father was a special forces in the same unit, and when he, like they met and they all knew the same name. So I knew the guy was legit. So he gave me this capsule and he said it was Kana, sassafras, and I forget what else. And so I believed him. But then throughout the years, I've wondered about that, and I think it felt more like MDMA, to be honest with you. And so, yeah, I mean, but that did it. Like my heart was just in a cage. It was just protecting itself from childhood shit, combat, everything that the world has to offer. And that was my viewpoint, is just protection and protecting myself. And so, I was a big guy. I was in the Marines. I just gained a lot of weight because I was like a rhinoceros, just full of protection.
Yeah.
That was my thing.
And you feel like that experience kind of shattered that cage that you had around your heart?
Yeah, man, it was like, dude, you're carrying around a lot of unnecessary fucking armor, dude. Like, what are you doing?
I mean, if it's
you know?
anything like MDMA, that will have that effect 100%.
Yeah, yeah, it was amazing. Did I remember my wife was 7 months pregnant at the time, somewhere along that line, and I remember like it. Here's the thing, like it felt like MDMA, but it was a little psychedelic. I had visions, and I just had a vision of like being pulled down to Mother Earth to the core, and like she was just kind of like she was holding me kind of like a baby, but then she backhanded slapped me, and she's like, "Dude, you got this amazing woman. She's your wife. You're really shut down. You don't show any affection and love. You have a daughter, and you have another daughter on the way. What are you doing with everything that is being provided to you with these opportunities?" So it was like the the best bitch slap I've ever had in my life. Like it was the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced, but it was a difficult realization. I'm like, oh shit, she's right.
How old was your oldest at that point?
She's 12, I think. Yeah, 12.
Okay, wow.
Yeah,
Hmm. You mentioned you were drinking a lot. I feel like that goes hand in hand with being a Marine from my experience
yeah,
with Marines. Uh, you said you felt like you were guarding your heart 'cause you had this pain from combat, and then you
yeah,
said from childhood too. What
yeah.
what kind of factors do you feel like contributed from the childhood to like how things were pre psychedelics?
Man, I have a great dad. I love my dad. He had a lot of wisdom. Uh, and I miss him. He passed away in 2015. I really miss him. I wish he was alive so I can share this stuff because he was really into this type of stuff.
Hmm.
But boy, like he was, he was like a cinder block, just very rough. Um, didn't really hand you any type of affection. Like if he gave you affection, he would throw it at you like a cinder block, and it kind of hurt. you know, like his affection would be like, "Hey, I care about you, but you're really fat." He would say stuff like that, or like just things like that. And that honestly, like that's not that bad. You know what I mean? Like there's some points in my life where I was pretty overweight, but that's how he showed love. And he was just a very rough individual. I grew up in a border town in Mexico, and so I understand why he was the way that he was. So I don't fault him for knowing what he like doing what he did with what he had, right? I understand all of that. So I have a lot of compassion for him. But just I saw a lot of different things. Like for example, I and he was a very machista guy. So an example of that is I grew up in a house where it was myself. My brothers would come and go. He had uh, uh, children with many women. He had some prestige. My mom came from the opposite end. She came from a very, very impoverished background. So because he had a little bit of wealth and a little bit of like power, he did what he wanted to do essentially. So I grew up in a household where it was my mom, my sister from my mom. My mom had a child from another previous relationship. Myself and my a couple other brothers would come and go, and then my dad's mistress. So like it was just confusing, and there was a lot of like shut up, do as I say. Um a lot of aggression, not a lot of violence, but there was some. And then growing up in Mexico in a border town in the 80s, that's when, if you've seen Narcos Mexico, it's just like, I grew up in Ciudad Juarez, where a lot of that, like, really, came to be. So I got to see a lot of those things. But essentially, I was molded to really not feel a lot, which was very confusing because I was a very emotional individual. I was a very sensitive kid. So half of my life, I was just confused. Like, don't show emotion, be an asshole. That's how you show affection. You know what I mean? And so, and that's how I grew up, being with my friends and the people around me and stuff like that. I was a prick, and I didn't know how to show love or receive love or appreciate just all of that stuff. Um, but all in all, my dad was still a very wise individual. Like he knew a lot of stuff, so he would always try to teach me things, so that he really inculcated like a lot of curiosity in me as well. And then my mom, she grew up in a very impoverished neighborhood, and I felt more at home in those areas than I did on my dad's side of the family. Um, there was a lot of love. What they lacked in finances and wealth, they made up in just love and affection and partying
Mhm.
and having a good time and family and all that stuff. So I got to see all of it. I was very fortunate.
You mentioned the dude who came up with family constellations. He was on his way to become a Catholic priest. Was
Yeah,
religion ever part of your upbringing? Obviously, Mexico being a predominantly Catholic place.
it was, in a sense, it was. My dad was a big follower of Jeshua, Jesus. He studied Jesus. He always talked to me about Jesus and all those different in his life. But he was very distrusting of the Catholic religion, which is the prominent religion in Mexico. He always told me, like, be careful with the Catholic religion, but love Jesus.
Hmm.
So I always had that mysticism, that was introduced to me. Even my name is Bruno, and he got that from Giordano Bruno, the Italian mystic, who was burnt at the stake for being
Oh shit.
for challenging the Catholic religion.
Bro,
So
a few hundred years ago, you would for sure be being burned at a stake
yeah,
for
oh,
doing all
100,
this shit.
yeah, 100%. Yes, sir.
Damn.
Yeah,
All right, so you have this experience with the Kana. You get bitch smacked by Mother Earth telling you to like, hey man, what are you doing here with your family?
yeah.
What realizations came to you from that, or maybe like what change was affected afterwards? Like what did you see that you were doing to your family that you didn't want to do anymore?
There's a lot of awareness, man. That's a great question. I think about that a lot. So I'm quick to answer with that because like it was just pure awareness from there on. Like, okay, dude, you've told your wife that you loved her twice or three times, whatever it was. It's still fuck. The numbers suck. Okay, like it's not okay. You should tell your
I'll give
wife.
you the three. I believe it was
Yeah,
three.
thank you, man. Yeah, but that's what you should be telling your loved ones every day, three times minimum, right? Like, fuck.
Yeah.
So just the pure awareness. Uh, looking at my daughter as my children as my teachers, not like me asking them questions on what to do, but like they offer such a rich opportunity for me to understand what it is to be a man. Okay, they're little girls, but I'm a man, and so what does that mean? Like I don't know. My dad didn't teach me that. He thought he taught me that through, like, being rough, you don't ever cry, blah 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 blah, all of that stuff. But those are certain characteristics, but sometimes those are ill guided, I think. And so it gave me a lot of awareness. And so from that moment on, I became hyper vigilant in a sense, of awareness of like what I was doing and the things that I needed to change. Because I knew, like, when I was very cold to my wife, like, I knew that was not all right, but it felt good because that's what was taught to me. So I'm like, I'm just doing what I was told,
Yeah.
and that's not okay. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you shouldn't do what you're
Yeah,
told.
that's funny. It's like it feels familiar, it feels natural, but then at the same time there's part of you that knows that it doesn't feel right. It's like this isn't
Right.
how this is supposed to feel, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, what did your daughter think of this? Because you said she was 12 already,
Yeah.
so like she's a fully formed person at that
Yeah.
point. Like we work with a lot of people where it's like, yeah, I have a 2-year-old, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, they're not, obviously they know things, they remember stuff, but like she's a whole person at that point. So
Oh,
like
man.
she had to see a change in you and just be like, Mom, what's going on with Dad? He's acting all weird. He keeps hugging me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And he's not yelling at me anymore. And
yeah.
he's not getting drunk anymore. It's like, what's going on? That was probably, I tell a lot of guys that I talk to, is like the greatest gift you can give your children is giving them the opportunity to see you become a, a very mature, healed, whatever that means, individual. Like for you to do your own hard work,
Totally.
for you to say I'm sorry when that's required, for you to step into your own power, like whatever that means. Like my power is doing what I do with everything that I'm doing, and like and being unapologetic about like living my life with morals and ethics and love and compassion, and being rough sometimes, and being like just a knucklehead, and being a brute sometimes. Like I do jujitsu. I love doing that stuff. I love throwing weights around. I love being a kid sometimes, and like being unapologetic about that. So I gave my daughter an opportunity to see a huge shift, and then the spirituality that came into that, just like this understanding that there's something greater, and maybe that's what we need to like really focus our attention on, like like all these taboo things, like even sex, like I talked about sex with my kid. It's like all those things, like, hey, everything is sacred, all of it is sacred, and so um having very profound discussions with her, where it was just like, hey, let's watch a movie or something, and let's talk about just kind of like, what do you want to do in life? You got to get a job, you got to make money, you got to, all this stuff. But like, where's the substance? Where's the life experience? Where's like when you're in your deathbed and you're looking back in your life and you're like, yeah, I did that stuff, and I don't regret any of it. So just that huge shift, that she really appreciated, because our relationship became very profound, very deep. Um, I had a lot of I'm sorries that were lined up, and not all at the same time. Like something came up. I remember there was a point when she was like 14 or 15 or something, and she was just super depressed, man, and like I couldn't figure it out. There's, she had. We're very fortunate that our kids don't have like deep, trauma. Um, they do have some from their parents. Like we're not perfect. But I remember when I was in the Marines, my wife was pregnant with my first with my oldest kid, and it was the Marine Corps ball. I took my wife out to the ball. She was pregnant, and I was in my dress blues, and we were in Las Vegas. And like, dude, I'm a combat vet. I have all these medals, like all this bullshit, right? And so I'm looking at my wife. I'm like, dude, I want to go out with a guy. So I dropped off my wife at home, went out, and I went party, and then like 3, 4 in the morning, my wife goes and looks for me because I wasn't answering my phone. And I'm on the dance floor, just on my dress blues, just dancing, and she comes up to me in her in her nightgown with a big old belly, and she's like, "Hey, whenever you're gonna come home, it's time to come home." It's just that realization that from the womb, I was already, being very I was kind of abandoning her in a way, and just those emotions, those things, that energy that she felt, and even in the womb. So coming clean on those type of things, and just kind of like, hey, I don't know if this, I can only offer you this, that maybe it's some of your, this emptiness that you're feeling is because from the womb you've had two parents that they were just trying to figure it out. We didn't have a roadmap like some other kids do, of very loving parents, and like we were very guarded. Even my wife, she's from El Salvador, grew up in New York, but her history is not a pretty one, and so they fled the Civil War, and they saw a lot. So we just didn't have a lot of love and affection in our family. So um, coming to terms with a lot of that stuff. And also, like, okay, we grew up different than our kids, and these kids are growing up with like all this stimulus, and so they're being told whatever they're being told on social media, or wherever at school. and it's different at home. So it's like it can be very confusing. So for me, it was just kind of like bringing it all together and helping her understand where she fits in the world.
What does that have to do with the depression that you said she was going through when she was like 14 or 15?
I just we didn't know what it was. She couldn't pinpoint like where the depression was. Like there was something.
Hmm.
And her school was a little confusing too. Like there was just a lot of like different ideas that didn't really clash at her home, but like that's not these ideas weren't part of our foundation. Like just different things that they were being taught. And so, like at home, she was being told one thing. At school, she was being told something else. So that was kind of confusing. I think that had like a lot to do
Yeah.
with.
At school, she's hearing stuff like the earth is round, and then she comes home and you're like, nah, it's not round. Stuff like that. Yeah.
Or the other way around.
Bro,
Yeah.
as a side note, our daughter's gonna be like, I think I'm gonna fuck her up in this way, which is that I just can't take things seriously. So like she'll ask me what something is, and I just like make up the most ridiculous stuff, and like they trust you, because like obviously they trust you. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. She's gonna go over to somebody's house one day and just say something completely ridiculous. Just be like, yeah, of course. And then she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? But that's me, and that's my stuff to work on. But bro, even just the fact that you recognized that she was depressed and you were trying to figure it out and talk to her about it puts you like so far above the standard parent of just like no idea what's going on with their kid and their kid's just trying to figure it all out by themselves. So I think you get a lot of credit just
Thank
for
you,
having
man.
those conversations with her, dude.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I felt it 100%. I recognize that. That
Yeah.
was good on me, man. Like I felt good, like holding her in my arms and like, hey, I'm here, dude. Like you're whatever this is, your dad's right here with you. So
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So you have this experience with Kana. You go and look at this, what's it called? The AW, the AW, like the
uh
training thing,
yep,
which is like a 3-year program, super legit.
yeah.
I get freaking targeted ads on Instagram now for like a weekend course to become a psychedelic coach. I'm like, shut the fuck up. So you're doing this, getting exposed to all these different lineages, if you will, right? Like
Yeah.
you're going to Africa, you're going to, well, where else did you go? You mentioned Africa. What other parts?
Africa,
Yeah.
yeah, Africa, Mexico, with what we call them Huichol, which really they're Wiraritari, they're
Mm-hmm.
Wirarica people. That's
Yep.
the actual term.
Yep.
Huichol is just something that I think Spaniards called them.
Okay.
Um, Colombia, Ecuador, the Amazon jungle with the Aikofan, and then Africa with the Pygmies or the Bweri tradition.
Hmm.
Yeah, so those are the places that I travel to.
And was the idea you're kind of working with different like medicines in each one of those places and kind of like learning different traditions? Or like what did you actually do?
That, yeah, that, like being seeped into where some of these medicines, but more than the medicine, the tradition, the culture, the understanding, the lifestyle, the sacredness, the
Mm-hmm.
importance of it, like uh, 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 in with a kofan, for example, right? Uh, the taitas or the shamans that administer the ayahuasca, they call it yahe.
Yeah.
The shamans that served us yahe, they started when they were 8 years old, and they were seven in their 70s and 80s.
Yep. Wow. Wow.
So it's like, hey, if you want to be an ayahuasquero or a shaman, well, this is the road that they took. So it's not like you said, it's not a weekend certification. It's like a very in-depth training. And you ask them, they tell you, I'm still learning. I don't know a whole lot yet.
Yep.
One of the elders, he passed away just a few years ago. Taita Kerubin. He was like, they estimate he was around 110 years old, and he would even say like, I'm still learning. He was alive during when I was in the program. I didn't get to meet him. He was supposed to go to our pilgrimage, but because of his age, he couldn't travel all that much. So we didn't get a chance to sit with him. But we sat with his children, and his children were the taitas that administered or that served head to us, and they told us like we're following our dad's footsteps, and we don't know, but this is our tradition. They were very humble and people, very
Hmm.
loving, and it's just like they were very connected with their roots, very deeply connected with their roots.
What was the name of the people, like the indigenous group? What were they called?
Kofan, Cofan, Kofan.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I know very little about Colombia and the Yahe tradition. Really, all that I know comes from Jared Fekete, shout out, and the Operation Purify people, Carlos
Yeah,
Duran. I don't know if you've ever crossed paths with like him and Ryan Carey. I think you'd actually be really interested in the stuff that they do. They run a retreat called
cool,
Savage Encounter, so it's like a men's retreat
nice.
where Jared Fekete actually teaches jiu-jitsu now at this like 3 week long Yahe retreat. So it's
Oh, that's
pretty cool
amazing.
thing they're putting together. Yeah.
Oh,
So all
yeah,
right, so you went there. You went to the Wiratica people, where I'm
yeah,
assuming you worked with some peyote out there.
yeah. Yes, they call it hikuri, and so just like yeah. What was your question?
Yep, hikori. Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
my first question was, how did you find the taste of it? I thought that peyote tasted so fucking bad.
It's hard to go down. It is hard to go down, man. It's
Bro,
not easy.
I never in my life thought that I would ever find myself saying, man, I sure wish this were ayahuasca that I were drinking because it would taste better. Like,
Yeah,
dude, it
yeah,
was the gnarliest shit I've ever consumed. And the way that we did it, which I think is not super traditional, but it was like dried, powdered
yeah,
cactus that was ground up and then rehydrated, but it doesn't turn into like a paste or something. It's now just like it had the consistency of like if you shredded cardboard and then just put that in a cup of water and told you to drink it. Like it was so gnarly, bro. I did not enjoy that one bit.
it, you know, they say it's like that's the first step in the medicine is like is feeling it in your in the mouth and all of it. Like you gotta really like yeah.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
I don't think it's for me, man. I'll
Yeah,
I'll tell you a little bit more about it if you want to hear it. I don't think I had a it was not a good experience. I would be down to try it again if I were like out in that part of the country with legitimate elders who really knew what they were doing. I
yeah,
think that I don't even think I consumed enough of the medicine to actually really connect to it for one thing because I couldn't keep it down. I just threw it up like as soon as I swallowed it, which I think was perhaps my body almost protecting me from going really deep with the medicine because I didn't feel safe in the environment that I was in. It was a
that has
sketchy
a lot.
place and a sketchy dude guiding it. So I think my brain was just like, nah, we're not doing this right now.
That has a lot to do with it for sure. I've learned that the container
Yeah,
is key in any of these aspects. You just have to trust you have
100%.
to trust yourself knowing that you're where you're supposed to be, you know, like you don't have to trust the person that you just met a few days ago fully, you know, it's very hard to just
To,
trust them, but like you have
yeah,
to
nah, the
trust yourself that they know what they're doing and like be able to surrender to that.
the dude who was guiding it, he is my Temescal guy, and I trust him to the end of the earth for a Temescal. And I learned
Yeah,
that day that I think he should know his own the limit of his
yeah,
capabilities,
yeah,
perhaps.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yeah,
so
peyote could
what?
be difficult too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what was that? What was that like for you? And I don't need like a play by play of all these different medicines, but I'm really curious like what you picked up from each culture and maybe how they were different. Because like nowadays there's so much information, people hear all these different podcasts, all these different things. Like it's really difficult to figure out like what is right for each person or where they should start. So like how would you like characterize the differences of what you learned from each tradition or from each medicine or maybe like the lessons that you applied to your life? Or maybe there's not even that many differences and it's just kind of like the medicine showing you whatever you need at that time, whether it's peyote or yahe or ibogaine or what have you.
Yeah, good question. I would say that each medicine and each tradition and each people's they taught me a specific thing. I think it's just individual for me. That's just my takeaway from each
Okay.
one. Like for example, the Kofan taught me about my fears.
Hmm.
Uh, in Wirikuta with the Wirarikari people, they taught me about spirituality. There was a point I was in the desert and I was just kind of looking at my dirty hands and I was like, dude, what am I doing here? And like, what is this all about? So it really taught me about spirituality. It's like, yeah, what are you doing here, and what is this all about? That's a perfect place to start. you know. Uh, I felt a sense of like at some point I was walking. We did a vision quest, so we fasted, no food, water for 2 days by ourselves in the desert. And so it just came to realization. I was like, wow, Jesus did this and Buddha did this in the desert. They fasted and they just they were in search of something within, And so Hikuri really taught me about spirituality and the bigger thing there. Iboga with the pygmies taught me what it was to be a man. Like that was very clear. Like, hey, what is it to be a man, and how do you live as a man? Um, Colombia, that kind of brought. We worked with specifically with the teachers there, like the organization. So it wasn't like a specific tribe or anything like that. It was just a group of people that have been practicing this. So they taught me about the different modalities. They put a lot of academic behind it. So, like, hey, the container, like other medicines out there, like some people are on antidepressants and they want to do ayahuasca or mushrooms. Like, you have to understand, you have to know that people are doing um, other type of prescription medications and how they interact, and you have to understand where people are at, like in with a in Africa, like you do Iboga, like everybody, it's not one big melting pot like it is in the United States. In the United States you have a melting pot of ideas, cultures, everything. So it's like take a moment to really examine each individual and what if they should be stepping into this field of psychedelics. And if not, okay, that's okay. But like getting them ready to be able to walk them into something safely in that container. Because maybe they want to do it because they saw the Netflix special and they're running to ayahuasca, but maybe that's going to really hurt them.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
cool that you
like,
you got some
yeah,
of that education on like the safety and harm reduction and just like, hey, let's slow down a little bit and really look at what we're doing here. But
yeah.
you I would love for you to share some of these answers with the class here, Bruno. You said the Ibogaine taught you how to be a man,
Oh
and
yeah.
the Hikari taught you about spirituality and like what are we doing here? Uh, what'd you learn?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that shit out, man. Well, I can tell you, like with Iboga, I did an initiation with the Bwari
Okay.
tradition. With
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dude, a good friend of mine just did this like by accident. He thought he was signing up for just like an Ibogaine retreat, like just normal, just take Ibogaine, see what happens. But he got there and it was like a full on initiation into this tribe.
yeah,
And he was like locked in a fucking cell for a week with like no food and no water. And he was like, yeah, I thought I was gonna die the whole time, but really glad I did it. Like, dude,
yeah, yeah,
fucking crazy.
yeah, yeah, dude. It's probably the hard. I remember because I was there for like 3 weeks. I believe it was 3 weeks. My initiation was towards the end. So we did two initiations with the group that I went with. I think it was 11 of us. There's three men, and the rest were women. And the women did their own initiation. And I remember, like, we helped prepare the initiation for them. So they had the iboga. They took the root from the iboga tree. They put it in honey. They put all these different flowers. They made them into these little balls. And the presentation was just like very feminine. And with my initiation with the misoko, it was they gave me a bowl. They threw all the Iboga root, and they told me that I had to peel the root. So like the skin of the root, that's the psychoactive aspect of that's the ibogaine, right? And so they gave me a bowl with like all these roots that I had to peel myself. I had to like dust off all the dirt, and then I had to eat it. There was no honey. There's no. It was a freaking just a bowl. They kind of threw it to you on the ground, and it was just like, all right, have at it. And I remember chewing it, and like you think hikuri is hard. This is because you had to chew it. And so you're chewing it, and that in itself is just like that was just an experience almost to me, this is just me. That almost was traumatic within itself. Just like having to eat this bowl, and you're in front of a mirror, and the whole tribe is there, so they're just watching you, and the kids are there, and they're playing music, and it's just like it was game time, and so yeah, the Iboga as far as like that energy and that initiation of manhood was significant because it really I came home with an understanding that I was like 39, I think, somewhere along those lines when I did it, and it was clear to me that I was a 39-year-old child. I was not a man, you know, uh, and I came home, and there was a lot of conflict in the house after I came home.
Yeah.
Very necessary conflict, though. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Like a reckoning of things that had been out of alignment, and so therefore
yeah,
there's just kind of friction as you make changes, or like why was there conflict?
yeah. I, I feel like I was going in a direction was the right direction, but I was too aligned with the feminine energy within myself.
Mm.
I would let things pass. Just kind of like flow, and it's okay, it's all right.
Yeah.
And also, I have to add that coming home during that time, my wife, I think when I was in Africa, my wife, boom, started her perimenopause. So I came home,
Doesn't help.
yeah, no, no, no. I came home needing my wife to hold me in her arms every once in a while and just letting me cry. I just, in my head, that's what I needed. I needed that. Just needed to cry. I needed to like, okay, what is this? What is going on with everything that I just saw, with what the medicine showed me, with the initiation? Like that was hard. It was very hard. And my wife on the opposite end was like, nah. And you know what? Stop breathing because it's annoying. And so it's 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 like I remember we would shower together, and like I would like dip my head in the shower and to try to take the soap off my beard, and she's like, "Dude, you're hogging up all the water. Get out of
Bro,
here!"
it
And it
sounds
was
a
just
little.
like this huge rejection of the
Oh my
feminine,
God.
and
Yeah.
as I was learning, that what manhood was, and it
Mm.
was it was just a hard like two words collided, because my
Yeah.
wife needed to be more masculine.
Yeah.
Growing up, she's the eldest, so she took the role of the mom, and so she was a protector of her sisters. So like she was she was just very masculine. She was a protector, and like I would tell the kids, go wash the dishes, and she would protect the kids from the dad because that's in her head. That just made sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how she needed to survive, and so that shift of being able to, and really what this work has taught me is really how to approach that without like being very blunt, being very unaffectionate or uncompassionate. It's just like, okay, I see an, I see a thing here that is not working out. It doesn't feel right. So how do we address this? And so that's it's really helped me out in that. Looking at myself of manhood and all of that also was just like, hey, look at these areas. What is it to be a man? Like develop your own understanding of what manhood means to you, and then live by that, Like live in those in that and whatever you say, that whatever you believe that to be, whatever your morals, your ethics, your sacredness, like all those things, like you got to live it. You can't just be like this dude that's like, oh, I went to Africa and I'm like very spiritual and like all this stuff, and then I
Well,
come home and I'm one,
that's what I would call integration. It's like, how do we
Yeah,
make this more than just a crazy vacation that I took to Africa, but it's actually this is a turning point in my life. All right, so you said that you were 39 when you had that trip.
yeah. I think I was, yeah,
Cool.
30.
I'm 31, so I got 8 years. I got 8 years to become a man. I can do that. All
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
we're gonna enter the purely selfish part of this podcast right now for a
Yeah,
minute. So you said you're figuring out what it meant to be a man. You said you got to develop your own understanding of manhood and live that out.
yeah.
Uh, what did that look like for you? Because I'll give you one little piece of context here. So my wife is currently 3 months pregnant with
Mm.
kid number two, and it's gonna be a boy. And this, I think, the ultrasound was just on Monday, so this is still sinking in real time. Today's Thursday. Um, I've been thinking about how, people say like raising boys is easy, and I think that's nonsense. And one of our clients the other day was actually like, people say that what they mean is raising like boys are easy to ignore. So you can just
Yeah,
pretend that things are fine. That really stuck with me. But I have found raising a daughter to be pretty easy so far because all I have to do is be like loving and protecting, which is for me is very easy. But I don't think right now I would set a good example for a boy. Like if my boy grew up to be exactly as I am right now, I would be disappointed in him, right? So help me, Bruno. What?
oh boy, oh boy.
You're like, I don't know, bro. I have two daughters.
I have two daughters. Yeah, exactly. Ah, man. I will tell you one thing, man. I was when I went to Africa, I was with this other guy that was part of the training. He'd been to Africa in the past, and I'm gonna go into like I'm gonna loop around. So we'll go
Sure.
back to this question here. So and we just hit it off, man. He was super cool dude, very young. He was like 20, he's like 27, something like I don't know, very young, but like just I felt that he had this presence of him. Just started talking to him. He was in Africa. He spent like 3 months with a Maasai tribe in Africa, in the plains of Africa where the lions are at and stuff like that. He told me that he witnessed, or no, that they taught to him, and he almost went out to hunt a lion. So their initiation of manhood for their boys is, and this is according to him, and I believe this is true, and I've kind of looked into it a little bit. Um, what they do is when the boys are transitioning to manhood, what they do is they line up the fathers. They go look for a lion in the plains. Once they find a lion, they have the boys circle the lion. So they form this big circle around the lion. And the boys are in front and the fathers are behind them, right? And the fathers have the spears. The boys are without any weapons. And so they're being confronted with this lion. And now what the lion has to do, it has to survive. That's the mission, is to survive. And what the lion does is that it looks for the weakest link in that circle, in that chink, right? They need to look for that chink in the armor because that's the way out. So it starts to circle around, looking at each boy in the eye as it's going around. Once it identifies which boy has the most fear, right? Then it locks into that. That's when the men come in and then they open the circle and then they let the lion go out. I think that's what he told me. I think they might kill him. I don't know. But then, the point of it is that they identify which boy has the most fear. And instead of scolding that boy of like, dude, you're weak, like you don't belong here, that's where the all the resources to help that individual become strong. Instead of like scolding him, then they pick him up. Then they like here we would like take him to jiu-jitsu and just kind of like being compassionate, but also like, hey, dude, like we got to pick it up here because like you're part of why this tribe is going to continue to survive, and we need everybody to be strong, but also loving and all those things. So to kind of answer your question, one thing that I've realized in all of this is initiations. Just the smallest things. Like the rituals, the everyday. Is just like making something important with boys so they can understand like the importance of life, the importance of their power, the importance of why they seem to be protectors. Like we're protectors of women, right? In a sense, and that might not land well with a lot of people, but in a sense, like for me, like in if somebody were to come into my house, it's out of order if my wife gets in front of me and tries to tackle the thief, or whatever that person is. Like that's my job in a sense, right? Including my daughter. My daughter right now, she's 7. My oldest is 19, and she's in college. And it's my duty to make sure that I jump in front of the lion if I need to do that. So, um, but how do we do that? And that's with is giving individuals the understanding of the importance of every step in your life, and also understanding that, like, okay, you fucked up big time. In this part of your life, you fucked up big time. And that's okay. Like, we're here living a human experience, and that experience means that you're going to go through the array of everything. And so maybe you have a lot of shame, maybe you have a lot of anger, maybe you have a lot of fear, maybe you have a lot, whatever that is. Maybe you're a very violent individual, all of that stuff. Like, that's your human experience. So, like, let's examine that for a while. And when it makes sense, when it's no longer serving you, how do we create a ritual or an initiation to move on to the next step in life? And I feel like in our society, we've really forgotten about just those steps of like these initiatory
100%.
aspects, right? Like, oh, you walked for the first time. Like, that's important. What does that mean? This is like, oh, now you're walking. Now you're walking into who you're going to become in the future. Like all of those,
Well, it's funny. I don't know. I mean, dude, you're fucking, for one thing, you're spot on with the initiation, the importance of that and the lack of that today and how that's fucking us. The other thing that I pull out from this lion story, other than that's fucking crazy
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like
Fuck yeah. I love it, dude.
epic,
I love it.
um, is that there's also this tribe around that like weak quote unquote boy who's then investing in him and lifting him up, right? Um, because I think, we run this microdosing program, and I resisted for the longest time having a men's group in there, which is probably
Yeah.
because, dude, I feel like men's groups are usually fucking lame as hell. They're just like, I don't
Yeah,
know, dude. It's
yeah,
all sit
yeah,
around and sniff our own fucking farts. But also, I'm
yeah.
sure part of that comes from me being scared to confront the things in myself that I would have to change and be called out on. But I am like the shepherd of this little flock, and like I need someone to fucking shepherd me, which is maybe why I've also been like embracing Christianity lately, because there's a lot of that kind of imagery and
Wonderful.
stuff
Yeah,
in there. It's really
yeah,
interesting. But on the initiate, we can circle back to that. On the initiation front, I have this watch. I'm kind of into collecting watches. This was given to me at my bar mitzvah. So 13 years old, you're supposed to be a man now. Like, what a load of bullshit, bro. I got up there and I recited some shit that I don't even know what I said. They taught
yeah,
me how to pronounce Hebrew. I couldn't read it, so I could speak it out loud, but I didn't know what the fuck I was saying. It was like the worst day of my entire life because I was this fat, nerdy, little awkward kid who has to get up in front of people,
yeah,
and
yeah.
not just get up in
Love it.
front of people, but now sing in a different language. Like, get the fuck out of here. And
Yeah,
then, congrats, you're a man now. Here's a watch. Like, what are we even doing here, dude? It meant
yeah,
nothing. But with our daughter, so we just weaned her from breastfeeding like 5 days ago, maybe 4 days ago. And there's this book. If there are any other parents out there, there's this book called Booby Moon, and it's amazing. So we
yeah.
did this little ritual where you read her this book for like months to like prepare her for it, because the book is about this ritual, and then you do it, which
Excellent.
is we got a helium balloon and we tied glow sticks onto it. She'd never seen glow sticks before in her life. So the glow sticks were the booby magic. and the booby magic has to go back up to the moon because you're a big girl now and you have teeth and you can eat with a fork, so you don't need it anymore. It has to go back to the moon, and then the moon's going to give it back to another baby who needs the breast milk. And so we were explaining this to her for months, and then we go and we do this thing, and she releases the magic back up to the moon. And now when she wants breast milk, we can remind her, like, hey, you remember when we did this? Like, we said bye bye to the magic. Like, we don't have it anymore. I had to go back up to the moon. And she's like, oh, yeah. And like, she talks about it like all the time. She talks about like releasing the balloon and like how the chichi is, we call it chichi in fucking
Yeah,
Mexican slang for titty.
yeah.
So we
Yes.
actually call it the chichi moon. But so like that gave her an understanding of
Beautiful.
this transitional period.
That's
And
beautiful.
there were like a couple nights with a little bit less sleep, but like I got nothing to compare it to, but it seems like a very smooth transition for her, which is like she's breastfed to sleep every single day of her entire existence up until 5 days ago. That's a pretty major thing to just like poof disappear one day. And
Yeah.
I really think it's because of this like physical ritual that gave her the understanding. And I feel like maybe for you it's almost similar with like the ibogaine was this turning point where like any time that I am conflicted or any time that I feel like I'm straying, I think back to that thing and like it was so profound of a turning point that it's just a little reminder of like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing now. So for
Yeah.
my daughter, when she's like, Mama Chichi, we're like, no, honey, remember we sent it back up to the moon. And she's like, right, yep, we're done with that now.
Yeah.
And dude, like, we don't have that in any meaningful way in our societies anymore.
No.
Like, I don't look at this watch and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a man now. Got it. Like, dude, I don't know, man.
Yeah. No,
And
that's yeah. But
no,
yeah.
I was gonna say I'm done. I'm done ranting. So I'm trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out how to do that for our daughter now, and she'll do psychedelics and stuff in time, and I'm sure we'll make some rituals and ceremonies and stuff around that too.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, maybe that's the answer, dude. Maybe I need to. I'm not going to fucking Africa, dude. I'm not doing Ibogaine, but
Yeah.
I am very interested in like a vision quest. My Temescal guy keeps trying to bring me out to the Sundance to do a vision quest and do like the Sundance with him.
Powerful. Yeah.
So maybe I'll do
Powerful.
that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. For sure, dude. It resonates that you say that Iboga for me was the Chichi moon, like, because it's true. Like,
Those are like five words that have never before been put together in that order in the history of humankind, bro.
it's fucking so true, though, bro. It took away all the safety net. Is just like, dude, get out there,
Yeah.
like go. And I think that's one of the things for men specifically is being comfortable having no safety net. It's all on you, man. Like it's all on all of us.
Yeah.
But like some maybe you'll be homeless for a day or a week or a month or a year. It's like, yeah, you'll figure it out, dude. It's okay. Like figure it out. You'll be all right. Like just learn to get out of your way. And I think for men, I agree with you on men's groups and stuff like that. But it, I've learned that helping men confront their fear and them understanding that their fear like could do nothing to them all along. You know what I mean? Like just in your head, stop it. So I think for young boys, being a father, if I had a son, it would be teaching him slowly with a lot of compassion, a lot of love, and a lot of strength when needed, and being rough when needed on uh, how to do away with fear. Because if you look at it too, man, like I do a lot of work with women, and like they talk about their how men treated them in many ways, and it was a guy that was just full of anger, and the precursor to anger is fear, you know? And so the quicker we are to teach men um, how to do away with fear in a certain sense of, again, initiation. Dude, you're confronted with a lion. At some point in your life, everybody's confronted with a lion. So being able to identify
You
that
said
and
the you said sorry, dude, I'm sorry for
yeah,
interrupting you. You said the
yeah.
precursor to anger is fear, and I just nodded like, yeah, dude, of course it is. Uh why where does that come from? Because I mean, we talk about
Yeah,
anger a lot in our program, and I feel like anger is a surface level emotion. Like there's stuff
yeah,
under it.
yeah,
We often
100.
point to like grief or sadness. I don't know that fear would be the first thing that I would point to either. So can you help me understand that? You're like, fuck, I don't know, it just sounded cool.
No, no. I'm learning that the more and more that I work with people, the more and more I see that there is just this, there's the shame, there's all of it. For men specifically, I'm talking
Totally.
about men,
Okay.
right? I, I see that there, when somebody's very like aggressive, and you start to like unravel and help them see deeper within, it always points to fear. I'm not great with words, so I'm not gonna be able to like bring this like super like philosophical like meaning to it. I do very well again in the family constellation. That's really where I'm able to help people see that for themselves. You know, like uh, family. I go back to family constellation to help answer this. In family
Yeah,
constellation,
please.
usually what I work with either objects. So I have like a bunch of different objects. I have like all sorts of different like little statues and like little things, like
Okay.
maybe
Okay.
like something like this, you know what I mean, with like a candle or something like that. Just a bunch of different things that I have that we use, or we use other people. For example, in a family constellation, say you David, you come up and you're like, I just I don't know, I have a lot of anger, and then I just start asking you more questions about your family, how's your relationship with your dad, all these things, even this experience with the bar mitzvah. And then at some point, I'll ask you to like pick somebody that could help represent your dad, for example. And so in the group, you look around, and it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a woman. You'll pick somebody that could represent your father, and then somebody that could represent your mom, or something like that. And then you just put them in this field. The field is essentially like in the circle, like where the lion is, essentially, right? And then from there it just becomes like a movement. And so I'm asking you to, like, okay, place your dad somewhere, place your mom somewhere, and within that place, wherever you place that individual that represents whatever you bring to the field, because I'm not telling you like, hey, you need to work on your dad. It's like, no, you're talking about something that happened in your childhood that's still unresolved. So it's like, let's look at that. So if that possibly could be your dad. So let's bring your dad into the picture. Let's see, where do you place them, and then how far apart you are from that. And so it's just like, it's always going towards this a deeper level understanding of, okay, you have this anger, but like where was the where did that where was that creation? Where did that start? Essentially, most of the time it's through some type of abandonment or feeling of like just kind of like going off of what you're saying, right? Like your bar mitzvah, it's like it was just very confusing, and so it's like, oh, I'm supposed to be a man now, but you're 13 years old, right? And now you're a man, and so it's like now you're flung into this world with the understanding that you're a man, and so like in the family constellation, we'll constellate that so you can see it, and I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, it for men specifically, it was that they were they were just scared of what was happening around them or what happened to them, and all that situation. The same thing with like the objects, like somebody will place an object. Sometimes, like they hate their mom or something like that, and they'll place an object that's just like very could be very dark object, and like they'll place it somewhere in the field, and it's just like it's information, and that's how they're viewing their parents, just in this dark essence. And so that was the creation of where all of these emotions started from developmental stages, and so um I can again, I don't know how to answer that in a very like academic way, but
It's
what I
okay.
can tell you is that most men, if not all, that I've worked with, the underlying to all of their anger was that they're not good enough, they're not loved, they didn't receive the love, their fathers were just not present, and so it created the sense of not being good enough, and so there's a fear in that not being good enough. So like you have to like really bring yourself up. You have to be a very violent person or whatever that individual's going through. You just have to be a very angry to like that. That's the first level of defense is your anger, and that anger, in a sense, kind of diffuses whatever situation that you're afraid of. And so it works for some time until it doesn't. And so it's just really examining that. And so again, from my experience working with men, most of them, if not all, like the fear was the thing that created anger
See
because they're
that?
protecting that.
Yeah, and I think a common thing for a lot of men is like shame of various
Yeah.
things. And I guess shame is really nothing more than like the fear of being found out or like the
Yeah.
fear of being seen for how you truly are or some part of you being brought into the light. So that makes sense. Hmm. I'm intrigued by this family constellations thing, man. The
Yeah.
only you're the only non fucking crazy person that I've ever talked to who's into this. I say that because like, have you actually been to Tulum? Do you know like what this place
Yeah.
is like here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bro. There's just like,
Wild.
white people with wide brimmed hats with feathers in it and wearing flowing fucking robes and calling
Yeah.
themselves shamans. And like, that's my only experience with family constellation people. So I think off the bat, I was like, this is fucking nonsense. But the way that you have described it to me, it sounds like it could be very valuable to pursue. I don't know, man. Maybe I'll come see you one day before I
Yeah.
turn
Anytime, man.
39. I
And
got some
yeah.
time.
The sooner you got 7 more months before your son is born, man.
Well, bro, that was
You
why I
got a
did
life.
peyote the first time, man. It was like my wife was pregnant with our daughter Sita, and I was like, the man that I am right now is not. This is gonna sound wrong. I was like, it's not good enough to be the father that I want to be, and not good enough as like I'm unworthy or whatever, but just like there's some shit I'm doing wrong that I gotta stop. Like I gotta stop fucking these things up in the same way, and peyote and a lot of temazcals were part of that. Um, now
If I could
I
say,
don't have fucking time for that, man, because like still got
yeah,
one kid. If you could what? Go
yeah,
ahead. Go
that's
ahead.
true, man. Yeah, that's the, yeah, that. If I can just say, like, when you say, like, I'm not good enough to be a father of a daughter at that point, like, if that's what you felt, like, that's a fucking great place to start, and that's where you need to just start doing the work, man. And so we often are like we put ourselves down often, and then we say something like, and I've done this, and I hear this all the time, like I'm not good enough to do this, like yeah, that's if I had a dollar for every time I heard that, right? Um, but in my mind, like what a perfect place to start. Like when you said that, and then you went out to do the work, and then you said that with your son. It's like, and you're right. Like right now, dude, you're not good enough to be a father. You're 31, right? Like, yeah, you got to go out there and learn, and so it's beautiful to look at it, and that's how I approach everything. It's just like, shit, I don't know how to do that. All right, so I gotta go fucking look up a manual, or I gotta go to Colombia or whatever, like I want to learn, and that's where the
Trying
beauty
to
is really doing that.
I'm trying to convince my wife part of that is me getting into woodworking. She doesn't want me buying all these fucking tools, but I'm like, dude, gotta teach my son how to do this.
You gotta do it, man. For me, I'm like, yeah, that's what you gotta do, and also that's part of like being a man. Also, it's just like, hey, babe, yeah, I got a DJ set that I just got here. It's like right here. And I told my wife, I'm just gonna buy a DJ set. And she's like, dude, you're 43, bro. Like, come on. I'm like, yeah, but you know something? I'm gonna do it. And like all these little things that
Hell
I
yeah.
got. Like last month, I bought like a toolbox, and I just bought a bunch of art supplies, and I packed it, and now I'm doing art. And sometimes I do
Cool.
music, and it's just like, again, that's part of like being men, of the creativity. We
Well, I was
need
gonna
to.
say, I talk about this all the time with our clients, man. I don't know what the ratio is, but there is an ideal ratio of creation to consumption for humans to just function well. And modern society puts you in like 99.9% consumption mode. And
Yeah.
even if it's something positive like podcasts or books, you're still consuming someone else's ideas. Terrence McKenna talks about this a lot. Like, culture is your enemy. Do not consume culture. You have to create your own culture. Dude, complete side note.
100%.
Do you know the artist Akira the Don? Do you know who
Oh,
this is?
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
He's a good artist, man. I love his music.
I often
Yeah.
think, like, what would my life look like if I listened to nothing other than Akira the Don and I read nothing other than the Bhagavad Gita and maybe the Bible in the mix?
Yeah.
Like, if that was all that I consumed, I would probably be doing so much better. But instead, I listened to a podcast about the Fukushima nuclear disaster the other day. That didn't make my life any better. Why was I listening to that while doing dishes? Like, what's wrong with me, dude? I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Bro,
it.
what's your wife been up to with all this? Because, like, she's got her own shit from her upbringing. Does she get to heal and go play shaman in Africa? Like, is she doing any of this, or is she just
Oh,
fucking
she
holding it
doesn't do
down at
any.
home?
She does not. That does not interest her at all. And so
Hmm.
it's not something. With all of this stuff, for me, like I don't ever. Again, go into consumption. I don't try to get people to consume this stuff. Like, you don't have to go to Africa
Sure.
to
Yeah.
you don't have to do any. You want to stay home and watch a movie, dude. Like, that's what you want to do with your life, go for it. You know what I mean? There's consequences. So with my wife, it's really been a huge journey, and one where I'll tell you, a couple years ago I started doing this work. I've been doing it for a couple years at that moment, and I remember her looking at me and she said, I feel like you're so far ahead of me and like your spirituality and like your healing and like all this stuff. And when she said it too, like, I recognized, because she won't give me a compliment until unless she really means it, you know. And so she's like, when you first started doing psychedelics and all this, whatever this was, like, for me, it was just like, oh, it's just a phase. The shoe will drop, like, he'll find something else in 3 months, like he always does. Because before this, like, oh, I wanted to do this, and I went, did it, got bored, did something else. So for her, it's like, he's just gonna get bored. A year later, it's like, oh shit, it's not. He's going at it still. Like, he's still working on himself. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and that, like, around that fourth year, she turned to me and she said, "Yeah, I just feel so behind. Like, I have so much." Like, things in my spiritual, I don't know who Jesus is. I don't even know my lady parts. Like, I don't know it. I don't know any of this stuff. So that's when I just kind of pulled out my hand. I'm like, well, I'm always here to walk the path with you, and that's how I approached that with her, and it's been very beautiful. She's a trauma nurse at a hospital here in Las Vegas, so she
Oh, dude,
sees,
she sees crazy shit.
yeah, every day she sees intensive life or death situations when she's at work, and not just that situation, but then also dealing with the families, being a mother, often seeing young kids, 19-year-old kids that are, got ran over by a drunk driver or something like that. And she's dealing with not just the person that got hit, but the family and all of that stuff. So that always brings up things for her. So it's for me, it's really being the opportunity, giving me the opportunity to have a place that she can land, feel safe, feel heard, feel important, and feel like she can just like let go of work and all the other stuff. And then also giving her the opportunity sometimes to be like, hey, you know how this area of your life you're struggling with, and then that's when I kind of use all my, I call it whale shit. There's like chicken shit, there's bullshit, and then there's whale shit, right?
Okay.
Again, this is something that I learned with chicken shit is just like little things like that don't matter, like your Hey, do you like chocolate chip cookies? No, I would never eat chocolate chip cookies. You eat chocolate chip cookies, dude. Like, don't lie. Like little things that we say, or little ideas about who we are that we tell ourselves, bullshit, or like bigger things, bigger ideas about ourselves. Maybe it could be something along the lines of like, yeah, I'm a perfect father or something like that. That's bullshit, dude, and then well shit is just like the philosophy, and like maybe it's Christianity as a whole, or Buddhism, and like there's this all of this stuff is like at the end of the day we don't know. None of us know. We might feel like we know the truth, and that's perfect and that's good and it feels right, and follow that. But all of it at the end of the day, like nobody knows what this is all about. Nobody has the answer. We're all just trying to figure it out together. That's it. You know what I mean? Like Jesus, maybe he knew. Like maybe Siddhartha knew. Like maybe they were brought and they had this understanding, and that's great. But I'm not Jesus or the Buddha or anybody like that. I'm just a regular dude that's trying to figure it out. And in my heart, I know what is real to me, and I know my truth and the way that it makes sense to me. But that's all well shit. Even like the healing aspects, like sometimes I'll go into like, well, you gotta. This is this makes sense that the reason why you're protecting your heart is because your mom didn't love you and this and all of that. That's like maybe 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 not. I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's like uh I never approach something as though like I'm a guru and that's the truth and that's that. You know what I mean? All of it's all poetry, like religion, Jesus, the Buddha, Muslim, like any of it, even in the indigenous traditions, like their belief system, it's all poetry, and you got to read it and you got to appreciate it and you got to soak it in. And sometimes you just can't take it that serious, like, yeah, life is sacred,
Hmm.
but like, you're gonna die, and then you're gonna find out the truth, and then I don't know what the truth is.
Dude, I think that's beautifully put, bro. And hopefully this podcast has been some good poetry for people to listen to. I
Yeah, fuck.
appreciate it, man. This is good shit. This
Thank you.
um
Yeah, that's cool.
I
Thank you
got I
for
gotta
letting
I
me.
gotta fucking talk to you more, bro. Not even not even in podcast context. I really appreciate you talking to me about this stuff, man. If you couldn't tell, there's some shit on my fucking mind that I'm trying to figure out via apparently podcasts. So thank you for doing
Yeah,
this with me. I
dude.
really appreciate it, man.
100%, bro. I love it, dude. And again, dude, go. I don't know if your wife will approve of me saying this, but go buy the woodwork stuff, man, and just go create something better than being on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, do it. That's what we're supposed to do, man. Like,
Exactly.
and it's gonna make you better at some point. It's
Exactly.
like you're gonna be sitting there trying to mold this boat together, and you're gonna fuck it up, and you're gonna have an epiphany of being a dad. I don't know, or not. I don't know. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, I think so. I've talked about this before. The whole reason I even wanted to have kids, I was on a bike ride in New Jersey. I bought this nice ass bike during the pandemic, like everyone else did. And I was listening to Akira the Don, and I was on mushrooms, and I was stoned, and I had drank a bunch of coffee, and I went for this bike ride, and like this
Good for
one
you.
Alan Watts lecture in this Akira the Don song just like hit me in a certain way, and it completely changed my worldview, and I decided in that moment that I wanted to become a dad. So clearly, I need to get really high and go do some woodworking, which is probably not advisable, and I'll have some more fucking epiphanies one day. That's my plan.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. It sounds.
You're like, yeah, I wouldn't advise that, but
No,
everyone has their own
I don't
path.
know what. Again, dude. Like, I don't tell people what to do, man. Like, that sounds like you're onto something there. And why not? Again, like the whole world for me, I'm being more observant of the world, and the whole world is trying to tell us what we can and can. There's always these left and right lateral limits of like, hey, don't do this and don't do that, and psychosis is bad, and don't do this, and like like all these things that they're telling us what we can and can't do, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know if any of that is right. Like I've had my fair share a little bit of like psychosis in one of my experiences, and it's just like there's a lot to learn from that. There's a lot to learn from going out there and again, like not having that safety net and just plunging into life and like, all right, I was told not to do this. I was told not to go to Africa. I was told not to do Iboga. I was told that, West African cultures they're very dark and they summon the devil. I was told all these things. And then I went to go find out for myself. And I'm pretty happy with everything that I found out. It's like, it's a great life experience that I've had so far, you know? So,
Well, thanks again for sharing some of it with me, man. I appreciate it.
yeah, of
Um,
course, man.
is there anywhere that you would like want people to go check you out? Not really, right? Fucking go file a complaint with the DMV in Nevada. Like, I don't know,
Yeah, no.
man.
But
Word, I'll cut that part out.
no, no, keep it in there, please. Uh, right now I'm in the process of creating we've created a nonprofit. Um, we originally called it Soul Miners, but now we're calling it Soul Sacrifice, and it deals with jujitsu at the property out
Really?
yeah, and it's right by the Grand Canyon mountain ranges. It's small, very very small. I take a handful of people out that are just interested, and we introduce them to jiu-jitsu, and I work out at Extreme Couture MMA here in Las Vegas, so it's like a really famous gym. There's a lot of martial artists there. It's just like, I love that world. I know you're really into it. So I felt like, I have this home, I have, this network. Why not create a nonprofit out of it? Uh, make a little money as far as like, buying mats. Like, again, like I had
Yep.
I had this obstacle. Like I wanted to do jujitsu at the property that I bought because there's like I have a 1,600 square foot garage there. So how do I buy mats? I don't have the money to buy mats. Well, create a nonprofit, fundraise, buy the mats, invite
Oh yeah,
people over, give them food, teach them how to do breath work, yoga, talk to them
dude,
about the
this
lion.
is amazing. I
Yeah,
have not, for the life of me, I have not been able to understand why I was the only person on earth doing something like my jujitsu retreat,
yeah,
where I mean, I know yours is gonna be a little bit different, but literally, I was like, how is this not everywhere? Like, this is
yeah,
the coolest fucking thing I have ever heard of. Why did
well,
I have to make this be a thing? I don't
yeah,
want that. If I'm actively trying to stop doing them because they're like so fucking stressful, and everyone keeps trying to twist my arm into doing more of them. So yes, please buy these mats so I can tell people to go to your fucking place.
yeah. And I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Like there's a couple of times because you invited me to your retreat, and it's just like I
Yeah,
was super spaced out, spread out, and like when you invited me, I'm like, man, I really want to go. And then the idea came to me a couple months later, and I'm like, oh, David, I'm cutting and pasting, but that's okay,
dude.
what I mean,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
and so just again, dude, like I love jujitsu. I love the guys and the girls that I do it with, and like so it just made sense and everything. So yeah, dude, yeah. So our website is soulminersretreat.com or .org, and yeah, soulminersretreat.org, and then you can find out more about what we're doing there. We're in the process of shifting everything. The website when we first started it, we're just gonna do like hikes. We're gonna like do breath work, ice baths, all of that stuff. We shifted it into because we were like, all right, like it just seems stressful. And some of the people that I work with, we all do jujitsu. So at one point we were like, why don't we just do jujitsu and that's it, and breath work, and then we eat, and then we have a bonfire and we make fun of each other. It's like, why don't we just do that?
Sounds
And then
perfect.
so yeah, yeah. So there's no medicine involved, nothing like that. It's just we go out. We have one of the guys from the gym do a seminar. They teach us how to do a move. Then we roll for a couple of hours. Then I feed everybody. Then they can go home or they can spend a night there. Yeah,
Cool. That sounds fucking lovely, man.
Yeah, cool.
You obviously know what you're doing, but if there's anything I can ever do to support, which with my wealth of jiu-jitsu retreat knowledge over here, you fucking let me know. For real, anything I can do to help you with what you're doing.
Thank you.
I like the sound of this a lot.
Appreciate it.
I wish I could
Appreciate
just
that.
give you my mats, but that's not really gonna work. They're all in my fucking underneath my stairs, just taking up all of the storage space in my house, dude. Ah, all right, man. Let's
Yeah,
call it a
I
day
get
here.
it.
I gotta go feed my pregnant wife. So thank you very much
Yeah.
for your time, buddy. I love you, man. Be in
Hey,
touch soon.
David, thank you, bro. I really appreciate you reaching out. I know we talked a while ago. Thank you for the time and the opportunity and the questions and what you're doing too, man. Like I really appreciate. I know that everybody's out there trying to do psychedelics and like you can throw sometimes it just feels like on social media I'll throw a penny somewhere and it lands on a shaman. Definitely not that. And like really, like your questions and your approach and everything is, I really appreciate it. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and let me, flap my mouth for a little while and give you a bunch of whale shit.
Nah, dude, it was good whale shit. I ate it up.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
buddy.
you. Of course, man. Appreciate you.
All right, guys. Hopefully, there were some good nuggets of wisdom there from Bruno that can apply to your life. I think there definitely was some interesting stuff that hopefully I will apply to my life. And truthfully, I hope that you enjoyed this little window into my brain and the issues that I'm facing right now. I feel like I've been a little bit more vulnerable than usual on the podcast. So I hope that you're digging this and I hope that it's valuable to you. I hope I can figure some shit out as well. So thank you for listening to this podcast. Till next time, God bless you. Peace out. Talk to you soon.